I've never been afraid of the dark. Even as a kid, I actually liked hiding in dark rooms. It felt like I disappeared from the world. But that night, the darkness was different. It breathed. It watched. I was driving home after a long day in the city. Returning to my house outside town usually felt peaceful silence, pine trees, fresh air. But that night, the road stretched on too long. Evening fatigue clung to my skin, and the fuel gauge was slowly, steadily dipping toward empty. I remembered an old gas station up ahead. I'd stopped there once or twice before, mostly for coffee from a vending machine. Not great, but hot. When the glowing sign that read "Gas and Go" appeared in the dark, I actually sighed in relief. The station stood alone among the trees. No other cars, no light in the windows, just a pale yellow bulb buzzing above one of the pumps. I pulled in, parked, and killed the engine. And then I noticed it was too quiet. No crickets, no humming from freezers, no distant highway sounds, just the faint crackle of the lamp overhead. I went out, inserted the card, but the terminal didn't work. Nothing. No error, no beep, just a dead screen. I walked around looking for someone. Every door was locked. The windows were dark. No sign of life inside. I was about to get back in the car when I saw the storage room door was slightly open. I don't know why I went over. Maybe I thought someone forgot to close it. Maybe I thought someone was inside and could help. I knocked. No response. I pushed it open. A little more dust, stale coffee, and something metallic hung in the air. No lights. I shone my phone flashlight inside. Empty. Shelves, boxes, a single chair. I turned to leave, then something crunched under my foot. I pointed the light down. A cell phone. Screen shattered, the casing smeared with blood, like someone had tried to stomp it or dropped it while panicking. I froze. My pulse thudded in my ears. "Is someone there?" I asked, my voice cracking slightly. No answer. I stepped out quickly. The air felt colder. I climbed into my car, locked the doors, and turned on the headlights. I was ready to drive off until I saw the fuel gauge. Dead empty. No chance of making it home. Great, I muttered, pressing my forehead to the wheel. I had to figure something out. My phone showed a single useless bar. Maybe wait for someone to come? That's when I saw movement. Just on the edge of the headlights, near the tree line, something flickered past. Fast, almost too fast to see, like a person darting between the trunks. I froze. A minute later, again, closer this time. I locked the doors, eyes fixed on the dark outside. I couldn't sit in the car anymore. It felt too exposed. I jumped out and ran back toward the storage room. It suddenly felt safer than the open. I slipped inside, shut the door gently, pressed my back to the wall. It was pitch black, cold, the same metallic, dusty smell. I must have sat there for 10 minutes, my heart beat loud in my ears. Then, footsteps. Slow, crunching gravel, approaching the door. I turned off my phone light, held my breath. The steps stopped just outside. Someone walked up and opened the door. Sweat was running down my neck and I had no idea what to do. I was terrified, but ready to fight for my life. In the dark, my hand found a brick and I gripped it tightly. When the door opened, the room remained pitch black. I was still hidden. The man stepped inside and felt around until he picked up the broken phone. I tried not to breathe, not to make a sound, but I accidentally shifted my hand. The man froze instantly and started listening, peering into the darkness. It felt like I was trapped inside a nightmare, right at the moment when you're supposed to wake up, but I wasn't dreaming. He took the phone and left, quietly shutting the door behind him. I stayed inside until morning. When the sun finally rose, I stepped out. My car was still there. I got in, started it, and drove forward. There was just enough gas to make it home. I've never stopped at an empty gas station at night again, and I never found out what really happened there. My name's Michael. I've been driving an RV across the country for almost 10 years, sometimes for the adventure, and sometimes just to get away from the noise of the city and unwind. I used to travel with friends a lot, but over the past couple of months, I stopped. Now I travel alone. No route, no plans, no signal. There's something special about that kind of vibe. That evening, I stopped outside of town, about 30 kilometers from the nearest settlement. There was just a dirt road, some pine trees, and an empty, isolated spot near an old abandoned quarry. The kind of place I like. Quiet, not a soul around, just sky, rocks, and wind. I parked and turned off the engine. The sun had already dipped below the horizon, and the air was getting cool. I turned on a dim light inside, yellow, warm, cozy. Made myself some coffee, climbed onto the couch with the mug, and put on a movie on my laptop. About an hour later, the laptop battery died. I yawned, turned off the light, and laid down to sleep. It was completely silent outside, the kind of silence you never find in the city. I slept peacefully at first, but then suddenly woke up for no reason. I had this feeling that someone was nearby. I couldn't hear anything, but the sensation kept growing stronger. Nighttime anxiety, I thought, and tried to go back to sleep. Maybe 20 minutes passed. I was almost asleep again, when I heard footsteps. They were quiet, but distinct. The crunch of gravel underfoot. Someone was walking near my RV. Anyone, even a seasoned traveler, would feel fear in that moment. Who the hell would be out here, in a place like this, in the middle of the night? My heart started pounding. The footsteps moved to the driver's side. Someone was just standing there. Then I heard a faint creak. The driver's door handle. Someone tried to open it. I quietly got up from bed and grabbed a knife off the table. It was dark inside. I didn't turn on the lights, didn't want to give myself away. The person moved around to the passenger side, tried that door too. Then to the back, where the entrance was. I could hear them slowly circling the whole trailer. Then silence again. I walked over to the door and must have made a noise by accident. "Who's there?" I asked. A man said he was a security guard. I took the risk and opened the door. A bright flashlight blinded me for a moment. The guard asked what I was doing there, and if I knew that being on quarry grounds was prohibited. He acted very suspiciously, twitchy movements, and he reeked of alcohol. I told him I'd leave in the morning. I asked why he tried to open the doors. "What are you talking about?" he replied. "I didn't try to open anything. Have a good night, and be careful." And then he left. I couldn't sleep after that. I hadn't planned on leaving, so I made myself another coffee and started watching a show. About half an hour later, I dozed off again, but was woken by a strange sound. Someone was humming a song. I couldn't make out the words, but I was sure I wasn't dreaming. Someone was back near my RV. This time, I felt a bit more confident. I figured it was the same quarry guard. I grabbed my flashlight, turned on the lights, and walked to the door. Off in the distance, I saw a man, just his silhouette. My flashlight wasn't strong enough to see more. I froze. Fear crept up again. It looked wrong, creepy. If you've ever played that Slender Man game, you'll get the idea. The man was just standing there, facing my direction, like he was waiting for something. I shouted, asked what he wanted. He didn't respond. I told him not to come any closer or I'd use a weapon. I didn't have one, just a kitchen knife, but I figured it might buy me time to drive out of there. I shut the door and climbed into the driver's seat. Then I noticed the driver's door was unlocked. I had forgotten to lock it. I shoved the key into the ignition and turned it, but the engine didn't start. I looked out the window where the man had been. He was gone. I tried again. Nothing. Looked around, checked the side mirrors. Not seeing him only made me more anxious. Tried to start the engine again. It sputtered, but stalled. I was furious at myself for never replacing the starter. Then I heard footsteps outside. In the rearview mirror, I caught a glimpse of the man. He was standing by the door. I tried the ignition again. My hands were shaking, sweat dripping down my forehead. He tried the door. I looked in the mirror and saw his face. The man looked terrifying. He had to be around 60. His face showed almost no emotion. He looked like a walking corpse. I rushed to the door and wedged a chair against it. He kept trying to force his way in. I couldn't call anyone, no signal in this place. But then I remembered the guard. I had an idea to signal for help. I slammed the car horn. The loud blaring sound startled the man at the door. A minute later, I saw a flashlight in the distance. It was the guard. He asked what was going on, and I told him everything. I described the man who was trying to break in. The guard's face changed. He told me no one lived anywhere nearby, said I probably got spooked by a wild coyote. Either he didn't believe me or didn't want to. I asked if he could stay while I changed the spark plugs. He said he had to leave immediately, couldn't abandon his post for long. I changed the plugs almost completely in the dark, got the engine started, and decided to drive off right away. I passed the security checkpoint on the way out and saw the guard talking to someone. It was dark, I couldn't make out who it was, but something deep inside told me it was him. The guard looked at me one last time, and I left. A year later, I came back, but didn't stay overnight. I wanted to speak with the guard, but he wasn't there. Instead, there was a woman on duty. She told me the truth. The guard used to sell illegal substances out here. Turns out, a lot of dangerous people came to that place at night. One night, there was some kind of altercation. The guard was stabbed. They couldn't save him. Now I understood who that creepy man was, and what he might have wanted from me. This story might sound mystical, but I assure you, it really happened to me. I had just turned 21. I was driving home from my parents' place. I had recently moved into my own apartment. My parents lived out in the countryside in a big, cozy house where I had spent my entire childhood. But the time had come for me to become independent, and I had started earning my first income through freelancing. I'm a web designer, and I quickly managed to find clients. I spent my first earnings on a car. It was a 2007 Ford Focus, blue with red brake calipers. Not the newest car, but it seemed reliable to me at the time. I didn't have much driving experience yet, and I was still nervous about driving alone. Usually, when I left my parents' place, it was during the day or in the early evening while it was still light out. But this time I had stayed pretty late and the sun had already set. I said goodbye to my family and got in the car. It was my first time driving so late by myself, and I was a little anxious. Understandable, it was a situation I wasn't used to. I'd always loved night drives with my dad. They had a special atmosphere, but I wasn't sure if it would feel the same when I was alone. Just the thoughts of an inexperienced young guy, I guess. The headlights of my car cast a soft yellow glow, not very bright. I waved goodbye to my parents and brothers and started driving. The trip was about 30 miles long. There wasn't a single other car on the road. It was only midnight, but it felt like every other driver had vanished. That already felt a little strange. But at the time, I was just focused on how unusual it felt to be driving at night. Inside the car, it felt warm and cozy. I imagined the outside, cold, windy, dark, and creepy, surrounded only by forest. But in the car, everything was safe and comfortable. I absolutely loved my first car. I was driving slowly, still too nervous to press the gas pedal too hard. Suddenly I stopped and got out of the car. There was no one around, just the sound of wind rustling through the trees. I wanted to soak in the feeling of solitude even more. But then, unexpectedly, I heard a sound coming from the forest. Creaking branches, falling twigs, and the cries of wild animals echoed from the woods. The forest was much louder than I'd expected. I started to feel scared. Goosebumps ran down my arms. I stared into the dark woods, trying to see what was making those sounds, but it was pitch black. I turned on a flashlight and immediately felt even more uneasy. The tree trunks and tangled bushes created creepy shapes. I quickly got back into the car and felt safe again. I kept driving, but now I was constantly scanning the forest. That peaceful vibe had turned into something tense. The dim yellow headlights only made it creepier. My mind started imagining what would happen if the car broke down right there. That would be terrifying. Soon, I reached my turn. I turned left, with about another 10 miles to go. I had no idea I was about to step into a horror movie. I kept driving and decided to turn on the radio. An old French song was playing, but after a while, the radio started making static noises. Eventually, it stopped working completely. I tried to fix it, but nothing worked. In the middle of messing with the radio, I didn't notice I had passed a road sign. I kept driving, not realizing I was heading in the wrong direction. After a while, I started to notice the scenery wasn't familiar. I should have been home by now. I pulled over and decided to check the GPS, but no signal. I got out of the car and walked forward a bit, hoping to get reception, staying within the range of my headlights. That's when I heard a sound from the woods. What was that? Was there a church nearby? I turned on my flashlight and noticed a small path leading into the trees. Obviously, I wasn't going to walk into the woods at night. I'm not crazy. Still, it was super weird that someone was ringing a bell this late. As I turned back to my car, I heard another sound, but this time, it came from the side, deeper in the forest. I rushed back to the car. I must have been nervous, because I let go of the clutch too quickly and the engine stalled. I tried to start it again, but it wouldn't catch. I turned on the headlights and waited a bit, afraid of flooding the engine. That's when I saw a silhouette in the distance. I swear, I saw a man dragging something heavy on the ground. I turned on my high beams. In the distance, a priest was walking down the road, dragging a rolled-up rug behind him. He looked straight at me. I instantly turned off the lights and tried starting the car again. His face looked so strange, and I had no idea what he was dragging. Was that a body? I finally got the engine going. The radio suddenly blasted at full volume, totally disorienting me. I turned it off and turned on the lights again, but the priest was gone. Then the bell rang again. I stepped on the gas, ready to get out of there, but the second my foot touched the pedal, I felt this awful pressure in my chest. like something was trying to rip it open. I could feel a presence next to me. I slowly turned my head to the right. On the side of the road, an old priest stood staring straight at me. His eyes were wide open. He didn't blink. I froze. I think my heart stopped too. Then I floored it and took off. I drove faster than I ever had before. I had no idea where I was going. I just had to get away. My heart was pounding like crazy. I couldn't stop thinking about his face. A few minutes later, I finally pulled myself together and remembered my phone. I had signal again. I checked the map. Turns out I'd missed my turn. It was further down the road. But here's the creepy part. There was no church on the map. None. I found a new route home and took a different road. I didn't want to go back the way I came. Since that night, I've never felt comfortable driving at night again. Every time I'm on a dark road, I feel like that priest is going to step out of the woods and then I won't be able to move.